Hello, 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 and welcome to the Success Series interview. As you all know, I am Susanna Mihailovic, and today I have another very, very, very special guest. I am super excited. So, Reem Burrows, first and foremost, is a dear friend of mine. She is a professional, she's also a colleague, she's a founder of her own business, and also the author of a book that I cannot put down, From the River to the Sea. This is one incredible book. It is so beautiful, humanizing freedom. And I just have loved reading this book, learning about a bit of the history of Palestine, of Israel, and also some solutions that Reem has. Now, let me tell you a little bit about this incredible woman. So, Reem Burrows is a Palestinian Australian. She was born and raised in Haifa, and until the age of 14, she lived there. She's an author, she's a speaker, and she specializes in heart-centered leadership, strengthening resilience and sales excellence. She's a coach and a consultant with a passion for peace and justice for Palestinians and Jews in the Holy Land. She is the founder of Dream Coaching and Consulting, dedicated to inspiring meaningful growth in individuals and companies. Her career spans over 2.5 decades, and Reem has extensive experience in developing high-level executives, teams, and individuals across various roles in the sales, marketing, and training domains. So in 2020, she won the prestigious title of Australia's Best Corporate Trainer. She holds a Bachelor of Commerce degree with a major in marketing, as well as a postgraduate diploma in strategic human resources and industrial relations. And of course, recently she released her incredible book. Like I said, I can't put this book down. I was just talking to Reem. I sent her a message this morning saying to her, thank you so much for this gift that you have created and put into the world. For someone like me that doesn't understand the history of the Middle East and what's going on, what she has compiled here is truly genius. So the first section describes what is happening in that region for people like myself. You might be one of those people. And it's really important that we do know a bit of this history. Now, the way she's compiled this is so light. I thought, a book on conflict, it's going to be heavy, it's going to be dark. Boy, oh boy, was I wrong. It's light, it's really easy to follow. And the second part, oh my goodness, the second part is basically about heart-centered leadership. Just beautiful. It inspires me every time I read a chapter. I'm almost through the book, but so inspired. So I want to welcome this very, very, very special woman, very dear friend of mine, dear colleague, and just an incredible woman all round. Please welcome the beautiful Reem Burrows. Hello, Reem.
Hello, Susan. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Good. That was a beautiful introduction, Susanna. Thank you. So humbled.
It was all true. Thank you for your time. I know you and your team are so busy delivering the work that you do. You're a mother of 2 incredible children that I've met. You're an author, so your time is so precious. So thank you so much for giving us a little bit of your time to be with us here today.
Oh, thank you for having me here. And I know we're all so busy, but it's an important message to be spreading to the world, isn't it, Susanna?
Absolutely, it is. Absolutely. I have so many questions for you, Reem. But let's start with your book, if you don't mind. What inspired you to write something so beautiful? And sharing with the world. What was the inspiration behind the book?
Well, I mean, I say this to everyone who asks me. I never intended to write the book. It's a book that had to be written. So I was in the middle of writing a leadership book, Susanna, and I was up to chapter 4. A heart-centered leadership is what we focus on at Dream Coaching Consulting. And, we've spoken about this, you and I, many, many a times. And definitely passion. Heart-centered leadership, strengthening resilience, the excellence, like sales excellence, growth, inspiring human beings to become the best that they possibly can be. But as I was writing it, obviously from my background as a Palestinian who was born in the region, who immigrated out to Australia when I was 14 with my immediate family, it was very clear to me that I had to start focusing on a book that not just dealt with businesses and the individual, but also at a geopolitical level, because right now, partial leadership is literally killing us globally. And we
Mm,
don't
mm,
have room for
mm.
partial leadership. We need whole leaders that are heart centered. So they use the mind and the heart. And, as Ernest Hemingway would say, to use grace under pressure. And as you know, globally, we're facing pressure, and we need
Yes,
heart-centered leaders that can think with from the health, head, and heart, which is the Dream Coaching Consulting framework for leadership,
absolutely.
in order to take us to build the future that we want, not the future that we're scared of.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's so important. And I'm going to actually read a section of your book, if I may, that
Yeah,
just
please do.
really, as I was reading this, was just beautiful. And it really shows, what you're talking about with your heart, heart centered leadership, and the framework that you have, head, heart, working together. So, and I think this was just beautiful. When you open your heart and ask it the right questions, you can only see, hear, and feel the truth. Everyone has a story, and many people from all walks of life have overcome adversity beyond what the mind could fathom. Yet, with an open heart and the right questions, you can achieve everything you want to achieve. And most importantly, it does not have to be at the expense of another human being. That, when I read that paragraph, I was like, wow, my heart just opened up. But to me, reading your book, that sums up your whole book. It sums up having, respect for yourself, living from the heart, listening to the heart, connecting with other human beings, allowing others their rights and their freedom. It just sums everything up beautifully. Yeah,
Yeah.
tell us. Yeah.
Well, I think where that comes from is this. From my experience, and this is whether it's in our personal lives, whether it's in our organizations and businesses, or if it's on a geopolitical sort of platform. Most of us are playing the game not to lose. Okay, that's where, because it's all coming from fear. So we're constantly playing this game as what I don't want to lose, so therefore I have to fight. So therefore I've got to protect. So therefore the ego has to come in the way, and I have to define these parameters that will, like, it's either me or them, that sort of dog eat dog world. And it's just
Mm,
simply not true. We have to really reject that now, because
mm,
we can actually all win. The old saying, the cave you fear holds a treasure inside. What if we can redefine what winning means? And we stop looking at it from a place of I'm going to lose, so therefore I have to fight. And
yes.
it's the solution, and the way that we live is around we all win. And I wonder if it's going to be even better than what we've got now, because we're all holding dearly on to not losing what we have currently, that it's actually standing in our way. But with an
That's
open heart, if you open your heart, okay, and really ask it the deep, deep questions, you'll very quickly realize, what if, how about this for a question? What if we could all win and it's even better than what we've got it? That's the question that we should be asking.
Absolutely. What if we can all win and it can be even better than what we ever imagined? Absolutely.
Ever
And
imagined.
yeah, and I love that, Reem, because win or lose, fighting is what separates. It's conflict. It gets us more and more of this, the problem that we have. You know, it separates us. And in your book, what you speak about, I mean, you've just covered everything so beautifully. You know, in your book, you speak about that we are all one. You know, the fear is what separates us, the constant win lose. So I have to win, which means you lose. It's not working. It hasn't worked. So we have to find another way.
Well, no, it's not working at all. And if we're not careful, look, we can keep doing what we're doing. There's no doubt about it. We can do, but if we're not careful, we are on a path of self-destruction. And this is not just in the area. This is globally. And it's not about me being negative and not being optimistic or anything like that. It's just you have to call it out for what it is. Have a look at the mess and the chaotic nature of the world that we're in today. And even if you're not connected to the Middle Eastern problem or anything like that, have a look at the chaos that we create in our own lives as a result of only coming from the head and then believing every thought that we've got as if it's true and relegating the heart to second position. If we can just use our beautiful minds and start asking questions, but allow the heart to be the master, right? And really ask ourselves questions like, do we really think we're that different? Do we really want to have one set of people having privilege over the other? Okay. And it being our freedom being at the expense of another. Do we really want to think that there's a difference between someone who is brown, white, black, Muslim, Christian, Jewish, or anything like that, because it's creating. I mean, look at what's happening in Gaza right now. We're actually experiencing a genocide, and people are still trying to justify it as to why it's happening. How ridiculous is that? We human suffering, and we're all trying to justify, or we're saying, oh, it's too complicated. It's not complicated at all. It's really simple. We're dividing ourselves to a point of ridiculousness, and I should know this, Susanna, and I'll explain to you why. I was born a Christian Palestinian in Haifa, which is very close to Nazareth. Now, everyone's heard of a little town called Nazareth, which is the birth of Jesus Christ. We are the ancestors of the first Christians in the world. Now, I don't say this to boast, but we've got, like, it's important for people to understand that this is from 2,000 years ago. My family has been there from 2,000 years ago. Now, Judaism came first. Christianity followed because Jesus was Jewish from Palestine. Upon his death, he sacrificed his life for us. Upon his death, Christianity started. So those people potentially who are either atheist or Jewish converted, some of them converted to Christianity. So you look at the DNA, it's the exact same DNA. We were all in the same place. 500 years later, Islam came to Palestine. Now, Islam is a beautiful, beautiful religion. People could have converted from Judaism to Christianity to Islam. So we're the indigenous people of the land with the same DNA. And now what we're trying to do is to divide people to say, no, you're Palestinian, you're Jewish, you're not. It's the indigenous cultures. And do we really want to believe that we're that different to each other? The challenge with Zionism is it came in Europe, and I understand why Zionism was born. It was born in Europe in the late 1800s to globally unite the Jewish people who are being persecuted in Europe, the States, and they quite rightly wanted to unify and Jews around the world to protect them. That's understandable. I understand it 100%. And what we saw in the Holocaust in Germany in World War II was atrocious. The only challenge and flaw that I see in Zionism is it didn't recognize the rights of the indigenous non-Jewish Palestinians living in Palestine. It didn't identify those rights because we separated it. And since 1948, we've seen the ethnic cleansing of Palestinians from the river to the sea and the slow erosion of Palestinianism. Now, again, if you're someone who is who's very Jewish and onto one side and only believes in one story, or if you're from America or somewhere else and you believe only in one story, what I'm saying can be confronting, but I'm not saying it to tell people what's right or what's wrong. I'm saying what I'm saying to help people understand fear has allowed people to separate one from the other and to put these identities, and for us, and look at the mess that we're in. And we have to
Mm,
go back to the
mm.
origins of, well, we're all connected because anything that happens in one land will impact the other. We're all the same. We all internally want the same thing. Now it's time to operate from the heart and say, well, from the river to the sea, all people deserve to be free. Everyone has the right for the exact same equal rights, peace on equal terms, without having one party having privilege over the other. No one's
Yeah,
trying to get rid of anyone, because the truth, Susanna, is this, and then we can go on to the heart piece.
absolutely.
You've got, and this is just an example, because you can overlay what we're saying in this book on a personal, organizational, and as well as other conflicts in the world, because it's all connected. But
Mm,
you've got 15 million Jews in the world, roughly. You've got 15 million Palestinians in the world. That makes 30 million. There's 7 million of the Jews who live from the river to the sea in this one land, which is, you can call it the Holy Land for the moment. And there's 7 million Palestinians who live on the exact same land, right? There's so much conflict, and we're treating one part of the community of 7 million like they are second class or less than another part. And we're claiming as a globe that one has the right over the other. And it's causing friction, and it's causing division, and it's causing warfare. I mean, you know that the book's really easy to read, so it explains it very, very easily. Over what? For what? For 14 million people? Even if it's all 30 million wanted to go and live where they want to, in the Holy Land, there's enough room for them.
yes,
If we spend
yes.
all our time and energy on creating what it is that we want with peace and harmony, rather than spending all this money on bombs and warfare and division and apartheid and walls and violence, and it's getting to a point of ridiculous. And we're trying to deny the existence of one people over the other. Enough already. Let's not do
Mm,
that. After the Holocaust in Germany, we said never again as a global
mm,
community.
mm,
Never again means never again for everybody, because
mm.
otherwise we're going to keep suffering.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love, and that's what I love about your book. It's not about separation. It's not saying, you know, we are better than you, or, it's about us as human beings, a human soul having the same rights basically. And I love, you just mentioned, never again. And I love the story. You incorporate stories of your life, and the story of your your Jewish friend who actually experienced the Holocaust. And his quote, what you said, you never forget the day where he said to you, I've just opened it up to that page, would you believe, Reem, this should never again happen to anyone. And he showed you, and he said so, and he said that to you whilst he was showing you the tattoo on his arm from the concentration camp in Germany. And to this day, and over 45 years later, this one thought goes through my head on repeat: never again means never again for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Dr. Bergman was an amazing human being, and he was a humanitarian, an activist, and he recognized that all of a sudden the oppressed had become the oppressors. Okay, and he recognized that Palestinians also have a right to the exact same freedoms that have been afforded to his people. When we're all one, like when I say his people, their people, I mean, at the end of the day, we're the human race.
Yeah.
And he was very, very adamant about that. And there's a growing movement of Jews and Palestinians globally and in Israel that recognize this. It's enough is enough. Like, that's it. It's time. It's just that the media chooses not to show that, or the institutions that don't benefit from it, they choose not to show it, and they choose to show you a certain narrative that evokes violence and separation and more fear and more hatred. And we're saying enough already. From the river to the sea, we need exact equal terms for the Palestinians who live in the 48 territories. So they can call themselves Palestinians, and there's no laws that work against them. In the West Bank, 3.2 million people are living there. We need freedom for them so that they can move as freely as possible without the surveillance and military occupation. In Gaza, the walls have got to come down, and there has to be freedom for Gazans who are going through the genocide right now. We've already seen over 40,000 people killed in less than 8 months. Over half of them are kids. The destruction of Gaza should not be happening. So we say enough of that. There's 5.9 million Palestinians who are currently refugees in the Arab countries with no right of return, no identification, no nothing. Enough. They should have the exact same right of return. If a Jewish person has a right of return to the Holy Land from the river to the sea, a Palestinian should have the right to return. Now, some people might be going, but that's scary because I'm going to lose my freedom. We need to put that aside now. You're not going to lose your freedom. What you're going to gain is freedom from that. We have to get rid of our definition of what current freedom is. That's just called privilege. If you have to occupy someone, it's called privilege.
That's right. But also what occurred to me when you were saying that, it's freedom from that deep, deep fear and those lower vibrational experiences from thinking that you will lose your freedom or thinking that another human being, deserves to be treated in this way. So it always comes back to yourself, doesn't it? And the quality of life that you have.
Well, absolutely. And we've been conditioned to fear because it's on repeat, right? And I'm going to be really very, very clear. I do believe that every single of the 15 million Jews in the world, they deserve the freedom and to live in peace wherever they want in the world. They deserve that. And we've got to get rid of the fear that somehow they are not safe. Anti-Judaism has got to stop. Anti-Palestinianism has got to stop. We need to be able, anti-anything. Like do we really want to believe that we're that different? Or do we want to look at our commonalities? And I know from my own experiences, because I have, that we can live together. There is a solution to it. We just have to open up from the heart space.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'd like to, ask everybody, never again means never again for everyone. So we are living in our cushy little homes in Australia where everything and, people watching from Western countries where we don't, we do have our challenges, absolutely. But in terms of conflict, we haven't had many threats up until this day. And everything is accessible. Everything is, we want something, we can get it instantly. So the comforts of living in these countries, sometimes people that turn on I'm not one that watches news, but many people turn on the television and it dictates their world and puts them in a state of fear and puts them in a state of separation, but it puts them also in a state of sometimes maybe not even caring, I don't know if that's too harsh of a word, or feeling like they cannot do anything. So
it's a despair. There is a level of despair in it.
Yeah, and there is a despair and a little bit of maybe apathy. I'm not sure, and it may be because, what can we do? We can't do anything about it. I would just love to leave these words with everybody. I don't know what the answer is, but never again means never again for everyone. How do we? It's something that we all need to contemplate. What does this mean for us? How do we become better citizens? How do we really care for each other, no matter what race, religion, skin color, sexual orientation, whatever, gender? How do we? Never again means never again for everyone. And I'd love to burn that in everybody's mind to think about as we move forward from this interview. But also, I love it that you have in this book of yours, Reem, this beautiful book, Questions for people to actually contemplate, what am I not seeing? When you're watching the news, when you're thinking about your cushy life, what am I not seeing? How can I look at this situation differently? Or even in your personal conflicts, larger scale conflict happens because we allow it in our own personal lives. So how can I look at this situation differently? How can I see it from another person's point of view? It doesn't mean that we are always right. What do I want to believe? Who can I help? Who can help me see things differently? And what if I'm wrong? What if I'm wrong? What a powerful question. What if I'm wrong? So, you've got these questions laid out for everybody to think about. And I've just turned to the quote, Dr. Joe Dispenza's quote, and I love What the Bleep, one of my favorite documentaries. The brain processes 4 billion bits of information a second, but we are only aware of 2,000 of these. So what if...
Well, I mean, that's what it is. Absolutely. I mean, if I can go on that, if we've got, it's 400 billion bits of information at any 1 second coming towards us, and we're only seeing 2,000 bits of information. We've got, and that bit, what we choose to see is based on our DNA, our experiences, our emotions at the time. There's a whole bunch of things, right? And then to go on, it's based on, so it's the mechanics of the mind here. To go on to that, what happens is that we have an experience and then we go looking for data and evidence from the past that's going to help us to translate what's going on today. Now, here's the biggest challenge. The biggest challenge for us is this: 50% of our memories after the age of 35 are made up. They're not true factual memories. So we're looking at corrupt data, and then we keep doing and thinking in exactly the same way, doing exactly the same thing, but expecting different results. So what we have to do is go, this is like leadership 101. This is mindset 101. We have to look towards, well, what do I want to create, and what am I not seeing, and what do I want to believe, and creating a new future. Okay, so we create the new data set to bring it to our current life so that we can create something brand new for the future. So we don't keep repeating the same mistakes over and over and over and over again, as we see history has taught us, because we keep continuously, at a personal level, at an organizational level, at a community level, and at a geopolitical level, we keep continuously repeating the same mistakes, and then we wonder why.
Absolutely. 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 So it's changing all of that. First of all, realizing you're only processing based on those 2,000 bits of information, right? Which is your past. And
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah,
exactly.
It's a whole yeah.
I mean, if you hear yourself, I mean, this is for me, I do this personally. If I hear myself or feel myself going, no, well, there's only one answer, just know you're wrong. I go, what if I'm wrong? Because we're only seeing 2,000 bits of information our view is so narrow. So you go, the quality of my leadership, the quality of my life is only determined by the quality of the questions that I ask. And again, that's just self-leadership 101. So you go, well, what am I not seeing? And what if I'm wrong? And how can I put myself in the other person's shoes? Because ultimately what we find out is that we're not that different. We all want the same thing. We all want to live in peace. We all want to enjoy our lives. We all want to be surrounded by people we love. We all want to be able to have enough abundance to do what we want, when we want, how we want. We all want to be happy. We all want to watch our children grow and flourish, or our nieces and nephews. It's so basic and so simple, yet we're getting it so wrong. And you go, okay, well, if everyone wants that, maybe we're actually more connected than what we think we are. There's another question. What if we've got more similarities than do we have differences? Because right now, the media is pointing us out what is different. And they're showing us, and the institutions are trying to show us why we should be angry. And the only thing I say is, can you please question who is saying that? What is their agenda? Why are they saying it? And how does this divide us even more? And say, just reject it, say no. And you've seen what's happened globally. I mean, our young people, the students all over the world, are peacefully demonstrating right now, and they're our future. Okay. How smart are they? Now, you might be going, oh, well, they're not really smart because they're creating havoc. But no, they are clever.
Mm.
Because what's happening is we've got young people who've got nothing to lose. Not like
Yes.
you and I, for example, Suzanne, if you don't mind me saying this. We have worked so hard for the last 20 years and we've built our homes and our businesses and things like that. And we get scared of, well, what if we lose that? Do we really want to go back to where we were in our early
That's
20s?
yeah.
So we allow fear to get in the way. Whereas these 20-year-olds, they're going, well, my life, the trajectory for themselves, for their life is so huge. They're going, I've got no house to lose. I've got no car to lose. So I want to
That's
build the right future for us. So they're willing to take these risks and to demonstrate peacefully to say, not in our name. That's all they're doing.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. For sure. Yeah.
And how cool is that?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the next generation. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And standing up, we want to have a better future than this. So yeah, absolutely.
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 And you want to have this. I mean, you think about it, you can reduce it to the lowest common denominator. Everything that I talk about in the book, you can use for your own personal journey. Now, if we can't get on with ourselves, first of all ourselves, and then we can't get on with some family members or friends, and we don't know how to sort of follow the path of love in our day-to-day interactions, how can we ever hope to be able to resolve our world problems? So it does start with the individual.
Yes, it does. It does. Absolutely. Was it Gandhi that said,
Be the change.
yeah, so we
Sorry.
want people were saying, yeah, how do we have peace in the country? And he said, well, have peace within yourself first.
Absolutely.
So you must be the change. You must feel it within you. And again, it comes back to the heart-centered leadership, the heart center. So important. I mean, science is showing us now that, the heart and the gut have the same, amount of neurons, neurotransmitters, ganglions as the brain, and some scientists even saying that it is the smarter brain. I mean, Einstein would always say that, intuition, that heart language, was the master. And also intuition, we look up to Einstein. He's one of the greatest scientists alive, but we think it's because of his intellect that contributed, but he was the first that said he came to improve the theory of relativity through his intuition, through his heart. That's how he came to the conclusion. So this is a great example. The solution is to flip it over. Yes, we do need the mind. Absolutely, we do need the IQ. But what if we were heart-centered first? And what
This is really important. Yeah, and I think that's very, very important because, look, we've relegated the heart to secondary position and we've made the mind the master. The challenge with that is, from an evolutionary point of view, the mind was designed to be chaotic. Okay, the mind was designed to look at differences. Okay, first to create all the differences in the world, and then to go, well, where do I belong? And to find where one belongs. That's just the way. That was a survival mechanism. The heart, on the other hand, it knows already the truth. So what we need to do is make the master the heart. Going back to the heart is the master, and we use our beautiful creative thinking brains as in a secondary position, because otherwise we're constantly going to be looking for the difference. The heart has a tendency to only look for similarities. The mind looks for differences and chaos. So if we were truly to believe every single thought we had, we'd be in deep trouble. And that's, look, globally, this is a problem.
Yeah.
So again, I mean, and you might think this is weird. This is not, and look, as you said, it's very scientific because it's not woo-woo, tree-hugging, hand-holding, kumbaya singing style of thing. It is what's happening here is that we've just sort of, the formula that we've got is back to front. We have to go from a place of unity, right? I've got the key next to my heart, by the way, and there's a reason for that. You open, the key is to open up the heart, to allow it to take the steps that's needed to unite us, to look for all the similarities and to look at what we've got, because we've got a lot more in common than we don't. And then you take the mind, this beautiful mind of ours, and go, how am I going to take actions to realize the dreams that I'm setting up for myself? If you have it the other way around, you're just creating suffering. And that the mind loves suffering. The mind loves it because it protects you from change.
That's right. That's right. And I mean, predominantly the brain is designed to keep you alive and keep you, alert to, to dangers. So it's naturally focused on so-called dangers.
Yes,
and
exactly.
Yeah, and you just have to look at society today, even aside from the conflicts that are happening in the world, just look at our society, how many people are not happy, mental health is sky high, family breakdowns are sky high, conflicts in families is sky high, substance abuse. And this is all because we have separated ourselves from ourselves first and foremost, right? Our true self, that inner self. And we've just up here with fear.
And that creates a lot of suffering. I mean, Buddha says it really beautifully. Pain is inevitable, it's suffering that's the choice. And what's happened is that we've just allowed ourselves to constantly be in that suffering mode, that victimhood mode, and this is where the part of resilience that we work with at Dream Coaching and Consulting is just that it's like, get out of the blame mode, the victimhood mode, out of the suffering, and start to create the life that you want from a heart space again, because it's a critical piece, because it's so much pain. I mean, you and I know this because we do a lot of the coaching piece. Most people, by the time they come to us, they're going, I feel stuck, I'm not happy, and there's a reason for it. It's because we're focusing on all the external circumstances. We're trying to build something from the external, and the foundations are all
internal.
they're all internal. Yeah. So you want to build the foundations from the internal, because if you build a house on poor foundations, it's just going to collapse. Well, guess what's going to happen if you build your life on poor foundations? And that's what we're experiencing in our day-to-day life. Even people are just not that happy. Even the Gallup survey in March 2023 came out. 67% of people are not currently engaged in what they do at work. There's so much unhappiness. There's so much. Because I came from the pharmaceutical industry as well in my corporate life. This is my past life before I started my own business. Antidepressants, anxiety medication, all of that is at an all-time high. Shouldn't we be asking why? Why, when we've got all the conveniences in the world, why are we not happy?
Absolutely. That's right.
And so these are some really important questions to be asking, and we have to dig deeply, and it's a beautiful piece of work. I actually really love doing this work for myself, and then from there to help whoever's ready to be, like whoever wants to go on the journey, because the prosperity that you can live on the other side of that fear is so beautiful. It's not, again, and it doesn't need to be, and I don't, and you know what I'm like, Susanna, I don't base it on the external, I don't base it on material. I mean, that just all comes anyway. If you get it right from the foundation, that all will come.
Exactly. And that's what you mean, first of all, the wealth within you. And when you've got the wealth within you, which we do have anyway, you just have to recognize it and connect to it. Everything else on the external,
will look after itself.
Absolutely. And I love the quote that you shared from Buddha, right? Pain is inevitable, but suffering is a choice. So we will have challenges, but the challenges, when we do have them, when you have that strong foundation within, when you're connected within, those challenges you are able to move through them in a lot healthier way, rather than absolutely allow them to be, you know, self-destructive and ruin your life and you know, get you into a tunnel of depression and anxiety. So yeah, so
No, absolutely. Absolutely. I
yeah.
mean, we can use it even in love. Let's look at love, okay? In terms of pain and suffering. I mean, we've all been brokenhearted. I know I've been massively brokenhearted. And it's one of the toughest things that you can go through when you're truly brokenhearted, right?
Mm.
Now, we've got a choice at that point in time. You've got a broken heart, which is incredibly painful. You can either allow it to create suffering, or when you've got this broken heart, you can allow it to be God's way of coming back into you and shine the light in that broken heart. And you can end up being a much better person for it, with a lot more empathy, a lot more whole, and to understand love with even more depth, right?
Yes. Yes.
And
Love
then
that.
we just have to make the choice. And so it's not all of just about the conflict, external conflicts. It's also within our own internal conflict that we have within ourselves.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that broken heart can give birth to something so beautiful. I just want to share a quote from your book. So it's Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s quote, and I think it's a great way to wrap up. And it's under the section "What We Need from Leadership." So we've spoken about so many things. I love these. I can speak with you all day. We'll have to have you back on the success series. We could do themes. There's so many.
We could actually. Every chapter has a theme, really, doesn't it?
Absolutely. So we need leaders not in love with money, but in love with justice, not in love with publicity, but in love with humanity. What a lovely way to wrap up this conversation today. We will continue at some point, I'm sure of it, because we have so much to discuss in the success series, you and I. What would your last words be for the people that are watching this today?
No, that's really good. And it's a beautiful quote to end on. So thank you. The reality is this: anyone you see on social media, anyone you see, not even on social media, sorry, on the mainstream media, or the political sort of narrative that you're seeing, we need to start to reject it. Anyone that's saying there's a difference between a Jewish person, a Muslim person, a black person, a Christian person, from different nationalities, whatever it is, we just need to start to really deep down open our hearts and go, is this what I really want to believe? Okay. And look for every single one of us can make a difference. Please don't think that you can't make a difference. And we should be addressing this cause and this issue, because it's going to impact us all, and it is impacting us all globally. Ask yourself each day, what is one tiny thing that I can do? One tiny thing that I can do to help the cause for humanity. Okay. And in my book, I've actually got like about 50 in there, because I reference everything. There's one section which gives you 50 organizations, 50 things to do, that's going to lead us to peace on equal terms from within, as well as, like in Australia, as well as globally. What's one small thing that I can do today? So I think, as an example, Susanna, this interview today is one small thing that you and I could be doing to spread the word. Yeah. And you know, I'll share the links to the book as well. All profits go to humanitarian causes. So that's a really important piece that I want to say, because this was, for me, it was more of a message that needs to get out there.
Absolutely. And what a beautiful book, and what a lovely way to end this interview. What's one thing, one little thing I could do today to help humanity? What's one little thing? Please do get yourself a copy of Reem Burrows' book. I'm just loving it. It's just a lovely way for me to start the day. Reem Burrows, until next time, I know that this conversation must continue. We've started something. We've only just scratched the surface today. Please do put your link in under the comments so everybody can get a copy of your book. Thank you so much for for your time.
Thank you. It was so beautiful. And then again, it's all about humanizing freedom, humanizing our own, and freedom for our own lives. I so appreciate your time, Susanna. You're a wonderful person.
You.
Love you dearly.
Thank you for your heart. Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for being with us today. Everybody,
thank you for having me on.
Link below, get a copy of Reem Burrows' book. It will talk to your heart. Until next time, thank you. Bye-bye.